People across the nation are reacting to the revelation that Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was treated for prostate cancer late last year. The Pentagon revealed this information publicly yesterday, a number of days after his diagnosis and treatment. Officials from the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center say Austin had surgery to treat his cancer on December 22nd. He was hospitalized with severe pain due to complications from the procedure on New Year's Day. But this was not disclosed to the White House until 3 days later. And White House officials did not learn that Austin was diagnosed with prostate cancer until yesterday morning. CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes joins us now from outside of the White House. Nancy, what exactly has the White House been told so far about Secretary Austin's treatment, his notification, why it was delayed, and whether he was incapacitated, at what level?
Well, Lana, they're now saying point blank that this did not work the way it was supposed to. They said it was suboptimal, the fact that the White House was left in the dark not once, but now we know twice. First, when he went in on December 22nd, stayed overnight, was under general anesthesia. Authority was transferred to his deputy secretary. White House wasn't told. And then when he went in because he was experiencing severe pain, more of an emergency on New Year's Day. And again, the White House was not told that authority had been delegated to his deputy for 3 days. We know that eventually the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, was informed. And I asked the White House press secretary how that process went down yesterday.
One more clarification on Secretary Austin. So when Jake Sullivan was informed on Thursday, who informed him?
It was Jake Sullivan, and the Chief of Staff informed the President. Are you asking who informed?
Who from the Pentagon told Jake Sullivan?
Oh, I don't have that. I don't have the timeline of the name of the individuals that may have informed Jake Sullivan. What I can tell you is Jake Sullivan was informed by the Pentagon last Thursday, and from there they were able to inform the President. They, meaning the Chief of Staff and the National Security Advisor, informed the President. I don't have the who actually told the National Security Advisor.
And did whoever at the Pentagon informed Jake Sullivan tell him at that time that they regretted the delay or give any explanation for the delay?
I get the question. I just don't have specifics on what was actually communicated in that conversation.
So still some pretty significant unknowns. The White House insists that the president does have confidence in Secretary Austin and, of course, wishes him a speedy recovery. But they haven't answered the question why the president has that confidence when they claim that he still doesn't know what the problem was here, what the communication breakdown was that led to either Secretary Austin or his aides not providing this information to the White House in a timely manner.
Well, Nancy, you understand why, of course, somebody dealing with cancer may want privacy, but in this case, we are involved in watching two wars, supporting our allies, and the secretary being under general anesthesia, being hospitalized. The White House Chief of Staff actually launched a review of cabinet protocols. What are you learning about what this entails?
Right. And the main issue here isn't whether or not Austin told White House officials about his specific condition. The issue is really more that he had to delegate authority because he was incapacitated for a period of time, and that information was not conveyed to the White House. The White House needs to know who's in charge of the Pentagon at any moment in time because, as you point out, the U.S. is involved in wars overseas. Now, the White House Chief of Staff, Jeff Zients, did release this new memo saying that each agency has until Friday to turn in their current protocols so that they can be reviewed for the White House. He said that all procedures should include alerting the White House right away when there is a delegation of authority. He wants agencies to document in writing that delegation has occurred, and the acting manager should then reach out to whoever their counterpart is in the White House. This will all be reviewed, and then if there are any changes that need to be made, Zients says that will come at a later time.
Nancy, I also want to ask you, now we're 10 days into 2024, and President Biden has yet to hold a policy-related event. As you're talking about the major issues that the country is facing right now, I'm wondering when reporters like you might be able to pose some questions to the president?
Such a good question. You know, typically when the president goes several days without holding some kind of event, some kind of policy event here at the White House, it's often because they don't want to get in the way or compete with something that's taking place somewhere else. You know, they're not going to say the quiet part out loud, but the thing that's taking place somewhere else is the lead up to the Iowa caucuses. The caucuses taking place on Monday, where you'll see Republicans competing with one another, the first big test for the likely Republican nominee, Donald Trump.
All right, Nancy Cordes, thank you.